Hey, what's up, YouTube? Welcome to Play It Painted Live. Hope you guys are having a good Friday evening. I know I'm about to have a good Friday evening. I hope so. Well, let's see. I don't know. Let's see what we get, right? You saw the title of this when you joined, so you know what we're doing. Yeah, I'm excited to do this, man. So I am in, for those of you who are in the Play It Painted Discord, I am in the Discord. If you want to join the discussion live, if you have any questions live, you can hop in and join us there. But yeah, we're gonna get into this, man. This is good stuff, and I kind of needed it. Been haven't done really any streaming since Sunday, and we did some. I did some painting during the week, but it wasn't much. It was a very light week for painting for me. Just did a little bit of some commission work, and I'm going to jump back into kind of just smaller scale stuff for me for the remainder of the time between now and the holiday. But I'm also hoping to get some gaming in, specifically the game that we're going to talk about tonight. Okay, so let's give people a chance here to join, but let's go ahead and I guess I just share it, right? Let's just copy the link. Let's just copy the link and see who wishes to join us on the Facebooks, right? Who would join? Let's just do. Let's just do. Where is it? Where is it? I don't see it. I don't see it. Whatever. You know what? I'm going to put it in here. I'll put it in here. There we go. Put that in there. And then let's go on the Discord. So I'm just getting us all ready. So if I go to the Discord, I can put it here in the general channel. I'll put that there. All right. So we're going to look at some prime time. I'm going to minimize that guy. Get back over to here. And then, yeah, I got to refresh this too. Okay, cool. All right, guys. Well, nobody is here yet, but that's okay. You might be watching on playback. But here is what we're going to open. And I don't know. I don't know that there's a good way to get this all on camera, but this is Aristeia Prime Time. And I got it. The camera setup is too close to the desk to capture this whole box, but as you can see, it's still shrink wrapped. So I'm going to open this up right now. And I don't do unboxings on my channel. It's never really been a thing, right? I go straight to painting, so I've never really done unboxings. But apparently, you're not allowed to unbox with like your hobby knife. I don't know. But everybody on YouTube seems to have these like big, like hunting knives and that sort of thing. I don't even have a hunting knife. I have like a utility knife that I can use. So I'll use that. We'll just let's just do that, right? So here's my super tough guy internet utility knife. And now you guys are thoroughly impressed with my not using a regular hobby knife. So yeah, you just use it to do that. You can't even see what I'm doing. Well, let's pull this shrink wrap off. Right? So starting here, shrink wrap off Prime Time. The box itself is the same. Roughly the same dimensions of, say, half the depth of the standard Aristeia box. Okay, so let's go ahead and pop this guy open and let's see what's inside. I don't even have room on my hobby table to do this, but we're trying, folks. Let's see. Okay, So that comes off like that. Here's the rule book. So you get a rule book. It's a pretty thick rule book. We'll get into that, obviously. That's going to be kind of the main journey tonight. And then you get these dashboards here. You get tokens. Let's look at that. And it looks like you get a bunch more. You get these bandage tokens. So you get these bandage tokens and you get these wound tokens. And it looks like you get these you get 4 of these little miniature dashboards. Okay, so there are 4 of them. There's 4 different colors, and then there's one principal activation I forget what they call that, but it's where you activate things on the dashboard. Okay, so far, rulebook tokens. Looks like you do get a new game board. Let's look at the new game board. Okay, I can't. Again, I may have to just unclip this and show you a whole top down of my desk, which may or may not work out well, but we can try. Let's see. Probably should have just set this up on my gaming table as opposed to my hobby table. But here, let's let me just take this off real quick, and you guys can look at it here on the chair. So there's one side of the gaming table, and I'm going to check my 3D terrain and see if it works on that. That looks suspiciously like the hexadome, but the walls are kind of in different places. And then you've got this other side, which has, you can see, oh, sorry, he's looking at my chair. You can see on this side, the hexadome has a lot more walls all around the outside. So if you look there, see all the walls on the outside? Way more walls on the outside, not as many walls on the inside. Not really sure. And the map, from an aesthetic standpoint, looks the same for both. So you have kind of green and yellow as the aesthetic for both, with the red and black walls. Okay. So I'll park us back here for a minute. But that was the game board. There also looks like little dividers on that side of the board that has the walls on the outside. Okay. The next bit that you get, I'm not sure what this is. Oh, I get to use Tough Guy Knife again. All right. I don't know what these are. Yeah. Tough Guy Knife is back. Internet Tough Guy Knife. Because you're not allowed to use your hobby knife. Heaven forbid you use a hobby knife to unbox something. All the internet tough guys are freaking out. It's not even a tough guy internet knife. Anyway. So, let's see. It looks like... This looks like some sort of randomization of an activation deck. Right? You have some of these have 2 numbers on them. Some of them have 1 number on them. And you get this, hey! You get a few of those A cards. There's even A plus. Double A plus A. I think this is, we'll see. I mean, it looks like it does have to do with some sort of activation order. And then you get all these, look at that, question marks. These are, again, I walked into this the same way you did, guys. I read nothing about the actual rules of this. We were told nothing. But look at this. You get XY, XY. This is some sort of, this is the stun symbol there. Silenced. Dazzled. This is a little scary. So I hope it looks like for every stun you cause, you gain a VP. So this is really gives you the ability to score off of conditions. Look at that. For every hidden, I don't know. Interesting. Okay. And then this looks like for every 3. Oh man. So this is obviously that's VP. This looks like a very comfortable person. We'll find out. We'll find out what those mean. A comfortable person with a life meter and the various types of life meter, energy meter. So this looks like some way of scoring VP or some way of measuring VP. So we'll figure that out. And then finally, looks like this is the last thing in here. Yeah, looks like it. The last thing in here is going to be, looks like a standard decks. Let's see. Am I allowed to? No, this has a special. This tears away like this. All right, you don't have to use your special knife. Internet tough guys who do unboxing. So let's look at this. What's up, Sean? All right, so let's see what this is. I mean, we all know what the dodge. Okay, 2 take aim, 2 dodge, 2 focus, 1 no, 1 fortune favors the. Okay, so this is one standard deck. This is another standard deck. And they're all, those two are both in English, and then you get the other languages. Looks like it's just Spanish. Yeah. So you get, and assuming this and the other one are the same, the other pile of cards, I should say, assuming those are the same, it looks like you get a total of 4 standard decks. Because oh, no. This is just different language. So you get 2 standard decks. Okay. So these are French. And that's probably French and Italian, I think, are the 4, or German. The 4 languages that this game is typically printed in. Somebody's messaging me. Is it not working? What's the deal? Oh. Hold on. All right. Okay, so that was the content of the of Aristeia Primetime. So 2 standard decks. You get the new game board. You get a bunch of tokens, including 4 individual dashboards and one initiative deck. And then you get this deck, which I'm not even sure what it is yet, but we'll find that. We'll find it out. It looks like it's got different scoring zones to tell you what you're like. It looks like this would randomize what scoring zone would give you VP, and then it looks like this would randomize something that will give you VP. I don't even know what that is. Plus your plus causing conditions will gain you VP. So these look like all kind of various ways to score victory points, and I'm sure you just randomize those as you play. All right, so let's get into it. Let's actually look at the rules for Primetime, and I'm not sure how I'm going to do this because this desk it's a little on the small side. And I got all kinds of paint and stuff that I need to move. And everything, like, there's no real estate on this desk. Let's see what we got. Yeah, I need to make at least enough room to turn pages on here. And we're going to go through and learn how to play primetime together, okay? That's the plan. That's all I had planned for this evening. This is the only time on Play It Painted where we will not be painting anything on Play It Painted Live. We're just going to be looking at Aristeia primetime rules. Okay, so let's see. So it looks like I have almost enough room here to turn the pages. Okay, so let's see. That's the Spanish version of it. So this must be the English version of it. So no painting tonight, guys. If you're just tuning in, we are literally just going to go over the rules for Aristeia Primetime. If I'm lucky, we can get a game in this weekend. All right. Introductory rules. Okay, now it's telling you about your control panel. Yep, and you can control the action point and movement point reserve of their character when they are activated. Okay, I realize we're a little bit blurry here. I'm gonna turn autofocus on so that we can kind of read together. And I'm gonna apologize in advance for doing this. I almost never run autofocus, but there we go. All right. And again, I'm in Discord if you want to ask me any questions live. All right, so it looks like, so far, this looks like just kind of basic Aristeia rules, game rounds. From the left to the right, starting with prime time, each player will activate their character performing any of the actions available on their character card. Okay, so now it's talking about energy, the control panel itself, name, actions, spaces, attacks, range, line of sight, roles. So far we are in the like kind of standard Aristeia how to activate your character. So for those of you who are wondering what the tokens look like, here's an explanation of the tokens. So you get so this is the running order card that you get, and you can see it's one for all players. Then you get the 4 control panels, 8 action points, and movement point markers. So these are kind of nice. So now you have a specific action point and a movement point little markers. You get a primetime marker, which I'm not sure what that does yet. You get 39 special space markers, which I have no idea what that does. That's a lot of markers. I'm starting to get nervous here. This is a lot of stuff. You know, it's starting to look a little Ameritrash with all this stuff. But let's see. Hopefully, hopefully it's nice and smooth. Aristeia is kind of token intensive. In fact, most of the games that I really like are token intensive. 8 running projectile markers. So it looks like you have these. It looks like, oh, please tell me that you can use the little servo bots. Because I will buy a bunch of Infinity stuff just for little servo bots. I'll just use them as my running projectile markers. You get state tokens, which is great. 20 value tokens. I'm not sure exactly what those are for, but those are probably just nice default values. 48 objective cards, which is the smaller deck that I showed you, and then 20 tactics. So again, 2 standard tactic decks. All right. Okay. I'm going to skip past the rules that I know are just Aristeia rules, specifically because, you know, we got a whole, I have a whole mini series going with Aristeia standard rules, so you guys don't need to, we don't need to cover that here. I'm sure you guys, a lot of you guys watching already play Aristeia, so you're going to want to know what the new rules are. Okay, so now they're talking about face-to-face roles, switches. We already know about that. Um, okay, let's find out. What we need to know is there's no infirmary. So what happens when you do damage and you do all this kind of stuff? All right, here we go. This is the bench, and I'm sorry, I'm on a different page here than what's on the camera. When a character receives as many wound tokens as their hit points attribute, they must immediately be removed from the hexadome and placed on the bench. Then the player will discard all damage and state tokens that their character has accrued. Also, the character receives the -2 energy state. So, I guess I'm not really sure. Maybe the removal of the infirmary really means that there's no, maybe that there's no rounds. I'm not sure. But you just go to the bench, and then they come back in, just like you would in a normal game of Aristeia. Okay. So they're gonna teach us with a basic scenario to play the first version of Deathmatch. Place down the hexadome and place the panel with the running order and prime time marker next to it. Provide each player with a control panel. Okay. Then then it's specifying who you must play. Wild Bill, Musashi. I will not say Mushashi. So annoying. Major Luna and Parvati. Cool. Choose the first player to pick a character randomly. After the first player, all players pick one character clockwise. Okay, that's cool. So then the last player to pick a character receives the prime time marker. To play the scenario, you set up the hexadome. There doesn't appear to be cover in the hexadome. Yeah, okay. And then deployment from left to right, starting with prime time, each player deploys their character in the central space of one of the deployment zones except for the central deployment zone. Okay, so then you stick your characters in the center. At the end of each round, check whether any player has scored any objectives. Okay, got it. Having a character in the central deployment zone is 1 victory point. Having earned at least 1 frag is 1 victory point. So it's sort of like King of the Hill, but this is more of like a free-for-all. The game ends at the 3rd round or when one of the players has 5 or more victory points. Okay, so this is a 4-player free-for-all, basically. And I guess they're gonna go over who gets to activate and how they activate, right? So, okay, so they're talking about automatic skills cover. We already know about that from standard Aristeia. They talk about obstacles, but that first scenario did not have any obstacles in it. Disengage rolls, those are all the same. Okay, then they go through an example. Displacement. Okay, placing. Yeah. Okay, here we go. Teams. In Aristeia Primetime, each player controls a team of 2 characters. Once you have deployed all the necessary game elements to play a scenario, it is time to create your teams. Follow these steps. Take the initiative cards of the available characters and place them next to the board in reach to all players. Come on, English. There must be 2 characters per player. The first player to choose a character will be determined randomly. Each player rolls 3 orange, and the one who obtains the most stars will receive the primetime marker and choose first. If there is a tie, only players whose results are the same. Okay, get it. Primetime character chooses a character, drawing their initiative card and their 4 tactics. Every other player does the same. clockwise. The last player to choose their first character is also the first player to choose their second character. I like that. I like that draft version. And then you go the other ways. So thus, prime time is the first and last to pick their characters. Yeah, that's good. All right. Then it's weird. Then this rulebook just jumps back into regular rules all of a sudden. So it tells you how to pick your team in prime time. Then it explains the tactics deck. You shuffle. You take 4 of your tactic cards from each of the aristos that you chose. Okay. You draw a tactic card every time an enemy goes to the bench, and at the end of every round, you can have as many tactics in your hand as you want. There's no maximum. Okay. Starting hand. Your starting hand is 4, which is the same. So players take their 4 tactic cards for each of their characters and then shuffle them with their 10 standard cards to obtain a total of 18 tactics. So you actually need a standard. You need a standard tactics deck for each of the 4 players. So each of the 4 players has a deck of 18 cards. You could mulligan. So you have to return the entire mulligan's the entire initial hand of 4. All right. Here's how you make a round. Right? It's 5 rounds in a typical game. In the first phase, okay, players place their initiative cards in their running order's free spaces in whatever they wish, as well as hidden to the other players. Interesting. Prime time will be the first to place one of their initiative cards in one of the running orders. The rest of the players will place their initiative cards clockwise. The last player will place both their initiative cards at the same time, and once they are done, the rest of the players will place their remaining initiative. Okay, so it's weird. So you have 4 players each controlling 2 aristos, but I guess I was wrong. They're not all on the same team. It sounds like everybody is your own. Everybody captains their own team of 2 aristos. I thought it was 2v2, but it sounds like this is just a 4-player multiplayer, which is interesting. I guess what's kind of cool about that is that means you can play 3-player games of Aristeia, which a lot of people are probably interested in. I know typically it's me, Nelson, and Jason, so we could all be playing a game of Aristeia. We could play a 3-player game of Aristeia. Kind of cool. And because everybody shares the same initiative deck, the same initiative board, you just place your 2 cards, and you could be the first character activating or the last character activating. It's interesting, very interesting. You could actually, set both of your initiative cards up against one another. So one round, it's just both of your own characters activating, which is interesting. But then, you're sitting around the rest of the time hoping not to get wrecked by other people. But the person prime time has that ability. Okay. The position, the running order, set the order which characters will activate during the round. The characters will place the number 1 placed in the number 1 position will activate during the second turn. The character placed in the number 2, and so on until all of the characters have been activated. All right. So yeah, it's not a 2v2. It's just every person for themselves. All right. Okay, so you do an initiative flip. Flip the initiative cards that need to be shown. Yep. Okay. So in the case of a tie, in prime time, in the case of a tie, decides which order they will be activated. If both characters belong to the same player, the player decides, not prime time. Oh, so only one player gets to be primetime? The player controlling the character with the highest initiative value, or primetime. Okay, so if you are primetime, you are kind of controlling the activation board in a sense. You're like super underdog, kind of. You flip the initiative cards according to their position, right? Okay. Then you do your activation just like Aristeia. Then you do objectives, you check objectives, right? Each scenario has a list of objectives. During the step, check whether any of the players. And what's cool about, so you have this objectives deck, which gives you random means of also scoring victory points. Okay. You check the end game if you're okay, and then you hand over the primetime marker. Okay. Uh, Primetime will hand over the primetime marker to the player to their left at the end of the first 3 rounds. Right? At the end of round 4, and these are initiative rounds. Okay, so it's the first 3 slots. Primetime then switches. At the end of round 4, primetime marker will be handed over to the player with the least victory points. Okay, so you get kind of a pinch hitter at the end of the turn, and then primetime gets handed over to the player with the least victory points. Solve ties as previously indicated. I don't even understand how you solve ties though. I missed that. How do you solve the ties? So if you have 2 players, neither one of them scored any victory points, one of them will be primetime. Well, it does not tell you how to solve ties unless they're talking about the initiative of their character. What? 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 I didn't see that. I didn't see. I'll have to find it. Please don't tell me you solve ties based on initiative. That sounds terrible. Uh, yeah. I don't know how do you solve ties? Maybe there's a I don't know, an index, guys. Did we do an index? No, we have no. There's German. No. Nope. No. Nope. What? I don't understand. Okay, let's just keep going. There is a way to resolve ties. It's in the previous solve ties as previously indicated, which does I don't even understand. There are how previously indicated. It does not. I don't know. Okay. Then you have a recovery phase. You terminate effects. You draw tactics. Each player draws 1 tactic from their tactics deck. Players who learned at least 1 victory point during the round draw 1 extra tactic. Players who earned at least 1 frag during the round draw 1 extra tactic. All right. To play this version of Deathmatch, do the following. Deploy Hexadome, primetime marker next to it. Okay. Then you do, okay. But it's still, it's fairly important to know how to solve a tie. It does not, what's up, Nelson? It does not tell you how to solve a tie. I'll have to go back and read through it. Okay. So Prime time. Player with the prime time marker is the first to choose in certain phases of the match. Likewise, that player will have the last word when a conflict for simultaneously affects. Okay, here we go. Let's go through prep. Every Aristeia primetime games with a series of preparations. You prepare the game elements. Blah blah blah. You place the panel with the running order, and then be the guy and do the things. You provide each player with a control panel, movement point marker, and an action point marker. Okay. Not only do the scenarios determine how to win the match, but all special condition players will have to bear in mind when building their teams. Okay. Follow the steps indicated in the preparation section of the chosen scenario. They will provide specific instructions on how to lay out the game elements. Got it? Then you do the initiative card, and everybody rolls a 3 orange, and then that's how you pick. That's how I would do. That's how I would resolve ties. It seems like the fairest way. If you had 3 players and only one player scored victory points, and you have the other 2 players deciding who gets to be primetime, and they have no frags, no VP, just make them roll 3 orange. It doesn't. Let's just do that because that actually makes sense. Not look for a previous section that does not exist in the rule book. Team, okay, and then you do team presentation, then you build your tactics. Artifact deployment. Okay, this is interesting. What is this? Special spaces. If the scenario requires the use of special spaces, deploy them now in following the rules described in the describe. Come on, English. In the special spaces section, page 8. Running projectiles. If the scenario requires the use of running projectiles, which is my favorite thing, and now I'm going to buy more Infinity models for running projectiles. You follow the rules for running projectiles, which we'll get to in a minute. Okay, scenario tells you how to deploy your characters, blah, blah, blah. Running order. In prime time, the game is played with 2 running orders printed on a panel. We all know that. Okay. Okay. We get it. Okay. Initiative prime time flips the initiative cards that need to be shown. Okay. The shown characters' initiative values are compared. We just did that. Okay, then you have activations. Then you have running projectiles. So running projectiles activate after all 8 of the characters for that turn have activated. Then you check objectives, and then you end of match check. And then you hand over primetime. Primetime will hand over the primetime marker to the player to their left at the end of the first 3 rounds. At the end of round 4, the primetime marker will be handed over to the player with the least victory points. If more than one players are tied with the least amount of victory points, select the player with the least amount of frags. Ha ha! Ha! They do explain it. It's not in the previous section, it's on the opposite page. Okay, good. If there is still a tie, decide at random. For example, each one rolls 3 orange. I'm a prophet. I'm a prophet. I figured it out before they explained it to you. That's right, everybody. I got that right. Okay. Then you have recovery phase, and you draw a tactic. Okay. And then here's the bench. So I guess the way it works is your character, if your character is sent to the, if they're sent to the bench by getting wounded to death, you still get to activate that turn if you have not activated yet. You just come in off the bench during your activation, which is kind of cool, right? So you're never really, your character never loses an activation. You just lose 2 energy, basically. Standard tactics. The no tactic. Okay. Frags. Yes. So now it tells you whenever a player inflicts enemy with enough blood damage to send them to the bench. That player gains 1 frag token. Some of the following requirements must be met. The player inflicted the blood damage during the resolution of a combat roll. The player performed or applied the effects of an action or automatic skill that inflicted the blood damage. The player played a tactic whose effects inflicted the blood damage. The player imposed a state on the enemy that inflicted the blood damage during the states phase. Cool, 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 cool. Disengage, we get it. What if you're disengaging from multiple players? In the case that 2 or more enemies belong to different teams, proceed as follows. Only one of the enemies will make the brawn roll. Prime time will choose which enemy will face the character with their brawn. Enemies in contact that do not face their brawn may willingly add 1 black. Oh, okay. So let's say I'm trying to do a disengage from Nelson and from Sean. Prime time, we'll say Jason is prime time. Jason would say which one uses their character to stop me. Let's say Jason chooses Nelson to try to use the brawn roll to stop me. And then Sean, because Sean is adjacent, can tell Nelson to add a black to the die roll, which is kind of cool because it's like, oh, I'm going to help you because neither one of us want this dude to move. So we can do that. That's kind of cool. Burning, we remember burning is awful. Stunned. Yeah, so this is actually the previous I know whoever's prime time like is actually way stronger than underdog in the standard game because there are so many other players involved. Stunned in this game cancels a star. I assume that's still that we would revert to AGL Season 4 rules though, where they can remove any one character. Focused, yep, we get it. Okay, poisoned, we get it. I'm excited, man. We're definitely playing this weekend, guys. Objective deck. Here's what we wanted to know. Let's see. The objectives had the following format. 1 is the victory points it grants. 2, the requirements to claim the victory points. And then 3, objective card color. That's interesting. Objective cards are grouped in colors and describe the requirements through icons, meaning is below. The inflict okay. Let's get this out. Let's get the objective deck out because this is pretty important, right? So you have the blue version, you have an orange version, you have a green version, and a red version of your objectives deck. Okay, so we'll start with the red, the red version of the objectives deck. This one here, for example, will grant you 1 victory point by sending a character to the bench. I always thought it was, you gain a victory point for relaxing a lot. Maybe. Yeah, maybe. And then the player's character, okay, so that's one version of it, right? And there's a few of those in there. And then this one here, if you do, the player's character forces the enemy character with the highest value of the attribute indicated by their team, wounds, or initiative to go to the bench. So if you will gain a victory point if you kill the dude with the highest health by getting that one. Okay. This one, you would gain a victory point for killing the dude with the lowest health. And I think they mean base stat. Let's see. The lowest value of the attribute. Okay, so yeah. And then initiative, same thing, high and low. Okay, pretty simple. Pretty simple. Okay. The orange is impose states. The player's character imposes a state to a character that already has a different state. It is understood that an imposed state is represented by its token showing the side with the red border. The player's character imposes a state to a character that already has. So if you have two states on a character, you gain a victory point. Cool. The character imposes a state to a character that already has a different state. If one of the states is the stunned state, then you gain the victory point. So there's actually two clauses to this particular card. If you cause a state to a character that already has another state on it, you gain a victory point. If one of those two states is the stun state, you gain an additional victory point. That's kind of cool. States deck is kind of cool. Okay? Sweet. But the interesting thing about this is just causing it to a character. It could be your own character. So let's say I'm playing Locksmith and Dart. You know I love Dart. And let's say Dart activates and she goes hidden. And Locksmith walks up. If card grants a player that meets its requirements with a certain amount of victory points, each card may be claimed at a moment that is determined by its color. Objective cards are grouped in 4 colors. Discard objective cards. Build a discard deck. Okay. The end of the match check step. During the objectives, Primetime may discard any amount of objective cards. What? What? Oh, thanks, Sean. Okay, looks like we stopped dropping frames. That's good. Yeah. I don't understand that. At the end of the match check step. So at the end of, basically the end of the turn. During the objectives phase, Primetime may discard any amount of objective cards. Primetime draws as many objective cards as they wish, as they require to have the 4 available cards once again. Interesting. Okay, but how? Okay, so it's basically it's basically you have the 4 out during the turn, and as players complete them, you can then turn in that card, and then another card will come take its place. That's kind of cool. I like that. That's kind of cool. All right. Okay. Special spaces. I don't know if I like this rule. Let's see. Special spaces. Special space markers are elements that do not occupy the space which they are, nor do they block line of sight. Special spaces are markers are not objectives. A space cannot have 2 special space markers. If a character advances, is placed or displaced into a special space with a special space marker, do as follows. Flip the marker if it shows its reverse side. If its effects are on a green background, the character may decide to apply them or not. If the effects are on a red background, they're resolved immediately. So we're going to have a bunch of stuff on the board. Not really happy about this. Let's see. Special spaces are not removed from the hexadome unless it is specified. Okay. To add special spaces to a scenario, gather all the special space markers, shuffle them, and stack them face down. Before initiating deployment and during the preparation step, a total of 9 special spaces will be added. In turns clockwise and starting with Primetime, each player will draw 1 marker from their stack. Secure it, check it secretly, and then place it on the hexadome in any free space that does not belong to a deployment zone. Okay, so it's an additional way to do shenanigans, it sounds like, or score, or get extra cool things. Yeah, this is a rule that I would actually add in later. I probably wouldn't play with this out of the gate because it's a lot of crap to remember. You already have the objective deck to have to deal with, so This one you'd probably add because they've got, you know, so you could look here. You know, some of the spaces will cause like immobilized, stunned, -2 movement. They can inflict damage. You roll 3 black for each shield. You do a poison. Roll 3 black for each shield. You do burning to that character. Then you have the good versions of that. Of those special spaces, you can gain focus, displace. You can displace as much as 2 times. You can remove 2 health. You can heal. Portal. I don't like that. The character may place himself in any free space of the deployment zone represented by its number. Wildcard. These markers must not be played unless the scenario specifies. So the rules of the scenario. Yeah, not really. I don't know. I mean, it's another randomness added to the game, so maybe you do that for lulz, but I don't see that. It to me it just seems it seems clunky. I wouldn't want to put that in. People don't want to lose a game. Oh, you put the space there, and it just sounds terrible. Anyway, running projectiles. The renowned Mad Traps and Crazy Koalas are running projectiles are some truly popular weapons among the human sphere's military and police forces due to their ability to throw themselves onto their targets and explode or immobilize them. Yeah. Running projectiles are obstacles. I like that. Sounds cool. Therefore, spaces with running projectiles are considered to be occupied, so moving or displacing through them is not allowed. And they allowed to gain cover. Spaces with running projectiles do not block line of sight. Running projectiles have armor and health. They have 1 health and no armor. Got it. Running projectiles may be the target of actions, just like an obstacle would, attacks, and tactics, unless otherwise specified. Running projectiles cannot receive or be affected by states. Players do not gain frag tokens for destroying running projectiles. Cool. And they do not count as characters, so you don't gain victory points for adding states to them. Oh, they can't. You can't add states to them anyway. Scenarios with running projectiles. Running projectiles may be added to any scenario by fall. Oh, got it. Hold on. So it looks like, so this is another option. Well, this is an optional one. I don't know, special spaces kind of depends on the scenario that you play. All right. Build a deck with the running projectile markers by shuffling Crazy Koalas and Mad Traps and place it with the effects of the running projectiles face down next to the hexadome. Next, Primetime. Primetime's got a lot of work to do. We'll take the first running projectile from the deck and proceed to deploy it in a free space that does not belong to any deployment zone and is neither adjacent to a deployment zone nor located in range 1 to 2 of any character. If these requirements cannot be met, projectile is not deployed. The rest of the players will repeat the previous step from left to right until every player has deployed 1 running projectile on the hexadome. So you have 4 running projectiles. Running projectiles, cannot be deployed in contact with each other, but they said in contact to each other. Spanglish. If a character advances, is placed or displaced in a space in contact to a running projectile, flip the marker and automatically apply its effects to the character. Then remove the running projectile from the hexadome and place it in the bottom of the running projectile's marker deck. The end of the turn, I don't know, I still want to put koalas on the board. We'll figure out how to do that. After finishing, projectiles are deployed they're activated starting with Primetime. Each player from the left to right will perform the activation of a running projectile until they are all activated once. Once all running projectile activations have been resolved, check that there are as many running projectiles as players on the hexadome. If the number is less, starting with Primetime, you deploy another running projectile. So some scenarios have running projectiles and they just continually will have running projectiles. So during their activation, the running projectile may displace up to 3 times, being unable to go through the same space twice, including the space which it began its activation. Once the player that activates the running projectile decides that it will not displace anymore, check if there are any targets range 1 to 2. If there is at least one target in range, the player must choose one of them, flip the running projectile marker, and apply its effects against the chosen target. Then remove the running projectile. There are no targets in range. The player may displace the running projectile as much as 2 times. Yeah, okay, so obviously we don't start playing with running projectiles until we've had a few games in and we're comfortable with all of the other rules. Again, a cute idea. Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. To me that just it's cool sounding that you have these little robot koalas and stuff running around the board. It slows the game down though. I don't know. Well, so I don't know. I don't know how I feel about it. I like the ability to put cool models on the board. I don't like that there are additional activations in a 4-player game. Because you always got that one player. It's like, and they can't figure out what to do. And when, that can happen in a 2-player game, which means, okay, 50% of the game is going to be slower. But in a 4-player game, now you have 3 players waiting on, which I don't really like. Okay. Additional rules. What? You may add the objective cards to any scenario as hidden objectives to increase the thrill. Yeah, sure. Why not? I like that. Sure. Why not? I like that it's optional. You could just play the scenario, or you could say, we're going to add objective cards. Okay. Shuffle. Oh, wait. Here's an interesting. So this is actually different. It sounds like you get to you draw and keep an objective card. To add this game mode, do as follows once you've created the teams. Shuffle all objective cards face down. Deal 3 cards to each player. Each player keeps one of the cards they received and places it face down next to their control panel. When all players are done choosing one objective card, each player hands over one of the remaining cards to the player to their left and the other to the player to their right. After the previous step, all players have received 2 new objective cards. Each player examines them, chooses one of these cards, placing it face down on top of the one they picked first, next to their control panel. When all players are done choosing their second objective cards, gather all the cards that were not selected, shuffle them face down, thus creating an objective deck. Place the objective deck next to the hexadome in reach of all players. Okay, so this is a little different. So now you have, so this is another hand that you can have in a scenario that does not have objective cards. Again, it's okay. It's okay. It's just an alternate way to play the game to help. Maybe it speeds up a game just by helping the better player do better things. I don't know. Each player may claim their objective cards whenever they see fit, as long as the card's requirements are met. Okay. Players may discard an objective card at the end of the round to draw a new one. Sure. So it just makes games a little faster, potentially, or slower, depending on who you're gaming with. Anyway, underdog. Seasoned Aristeia players will probably miss using the underdog marker. Just need to replace the primetime marker for the underdog marker and apply the following rules. Underdog. Whenever the rule makes reference to primetime, replace it with underdog. Okay, fine. Sure. Why not? It's... I don't even know that this rule had to be in the book. You could have just... Okay. Yeah, so it's like the same thing. All right. And it looks like we are we're about to get to the scenarios here. All right. 3-player okay, so I like this. 3-player matches at the end of round 3. Primetime markers handed over to the player that is to the left of the current primetime. It may happen that in 3-player matches, both initiative cards for the same player occupy the same position in both running orders. To prevent that situation from being exploited at the expense of enjoyment, the following rule is proposed. No one except primetime may place their initiative cards. Okay, that's cool. Sure. Expansions and characters. If you have Aristeia expansions, we recommend you add new characters to prime time so you're not reduced to the same combinations. All you have to do is create a group of characters so that there are 2 characters per player. You may do so, yeah. Draft system. For the draft system, build a deck with the initiative cards of every available character. Pick one of the characters at random. Pick one of the players at random. The chosen player takes the deck and secretly picks one card, placing it face down in front of them. They then hands over the deck. Come on, English. They then hands over the deck to the player to their left. Repeats the same operation. The deck will keep circulating among the players until everyone has selected 2 initiative cards. At that moment, the deck is discarded and all the selected cards are flipped. That will be the group's characters that will be part of the teams. Sure. Advanced Tactics decks. Here's what I wanted to know. It is recommended that this rule is applied if there is consensus about it among the players. Players in possession of a copy of the Advanced Tactic deck may replace their standard tactic with the Sterling Forge or the TCOM deck. Players must announce. Okay, fine. Okay. Oh, interesting. Okay, so if you're using the Sterling Forge deck, which usually gives you additional color die and a reroll, it says, in the case of being used in this way, standard tactics 9, 11, 12, 13, 16, and 17 may be played to add dice. If they use it this way, only the dice added, the further effects are not applied. So no reroll. What? Why? Why? Why did they? Is it too strong? I don't think that's too strong. Whatever. TCOM. Standard tactics 9, 11, 13 may be applied to add dice to the roll of any other player. In the case being used in this way, only the dice added. What? Why? What? Okay. Crossover assault. Okay. Yeah. I don't know. So it looks like these are the scenarios, and there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 scenarios, or 5 new scenarios. Wait. Yeah. And then it goes straight into the German from here. Goes straight into the German. So, yeah, 5 scenarios. That's not bad. And then it has additional scoring for how it kind of lists all the characters and tells you how many VP you get from the wanted scenario, which is cool. So each character has a different VP value. So for example, if you kill Maximus, you get 2 VP. If you kill Senior Massacre, you get 3 VP. So who's the most valuable? Lei Gong and Moonchild. That makes sense. If you kill those 2 because those 2 are double trouble, you gain 3 VP plus a tactic. Woo-wee. Woo-wee. All right. So, yeah. So that's prime time, basically. Oh, yeah. Hexadome. Wait. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, there's only 5 scenarios. Okay. Well, I mean, prime time. It sounds fun. You know, initial reaction, it sounds like it's going to be a fun way to play Aristeia. You get to, it means that no matter how many people show up for Aristeia, as long as it's 2 or more, we'll get to play. I don't know how much, like, if you had 4 players, I guess my question is, if you had 4 people show up for Aristeia, what would I consider to be more fun, playing a single 4-player game or playing 2 2-player matches? Aristeia, because Aristeia is still standard games of Aristeia when I can. And Primetime, will just be another fun thing to do. What I like about primetime is it's probably one of the best ways to teach someone how to play Aristeia. Right? It's probably a great way. For example, and this happens with us all the time. We have two people playing Aristeia, and the third person shows up, and they're like, "Oh, what are you guys playing?" "Oh, we're playing Aristeia." "Oh," and they sit and they watch, and because they're not actually playing, they don't get that first-hand experience. They don't know if they're going to like the game or whatever. This is a great. I also like this, and I'm always looking for ways to, get more people into our gaming group. So this is a great way to have. Oh, okay. We're still having some YouTube issues here, but it's a great way for us to be like we're sitting at the bar, right? We're about to break out this game. If there's somebody that, I don't think at the bar no one goes to the bar by themselves. But if we're playing at CQ or whatever, and somebody shows up and we're like, hey man, you want to jump in? We can always pick up a third player, which is cool. You can pick up 4 players. You have 2 people show up, right? So now we're back at the bar. A couple of people are like, oh, this is a board gaming bar. How cool. Oh, I've never played a board game. And you're like, hey man, why don't you play something dope? And then you can that's exactly how it would work. You could just, tell them that, and they'd be like, oh, okay, sure. Um, and you could throw them into primetime, and 2 players would know what they're doing, and the other 2 would have to learn. I still, you could still, with this, you could still play, you could still play Aristeia, like classic Aristeia, but you could play classic Aristeia and play it 2v2. You could still do that. Like you could do that today without primetime rules, and that's still kind of fun. Like that sounds kind of fun to me to do. Right? Just here's your 2, here's my 2. We share a tactics deck, and you can play it that way. With this is a 4-player game, but it's not. For some reason, you guys tell me, I was under the strong impression that it was going to be a 2v2 format, but it's actually just a 1v1v1v1 format. And don't get me wrong, that's cool. And just, it wasn't what I was expecting. So, anyways, I'm hoping, yeah, and Sean is right. It does need to hit the board before we really figure out, if we're gonna play this. Here's an interesting thing. Why did I got all of these subscribers? What? During that super laggy period, I got a lot of just subscribe. That can't be right. That's weird. Something's going on with YouTube. I just got a bunch of notifications that like a bunch of people just subscribed to me. I don't know. I guess I'll check my subs later to see if that's actually true. But I don't know. Anyways, yeah, that's what we're doing. So, yeah, prime time. We're going to try to play some... hey, what's up, Jason? You just missed the entire prime time thing. I just went through pretty much all of Aristeia primetime. So, but we're gonna give us a few minutes here if you guys have any questions or comments, threats, anything like that. Definitely need to play it. It sounds very fun. It wasn't what I was expecting. It's definitely gonna be it's definitely going to be more random, and they even added more rules to make it, like, you have optional rules to make your game even more random. See, that's weird. Hmm. Yeah, I don't know. I got more. I got more subs, but not on my dashboard. It just says plus that many subs. Whatever. Yeah, hoping we can play either Sunday or with any luck, maybe even tomorrow, kind of late day. Yeah, so it's not co-op, Jason. It's up to 4 players, and each player selects 2 aristos. So you know what that means, right? I could play Prism and Dart all day long, and I just play Prism and Dart. Jason can play Musashi and Wild Bill all day long, and he could just play Musashi and Bill. What's weird is that the determining underdog, well, it's not even a thing anymore. It doesn't depend on initiative, and that kind of that's a little bit of a concern, right? Because the initiative of a character is kind of built into how the entire team is weighted. So if you're playing Primetime and you played only Gaia and Maximus, both initiative 3, how good are you going to be? In fact, if you play Gaia, it's probably very rough for Primetime anyways, because the only person you can move is your other player, and that would suck. But I don't know. But yeah, maybe somebody tries it. I'm gonna play Gaia and Maximus. The cool thing is too, though, what I like is you get all 4 of your player's tactics. That makes certain characters really good. Example, Parvati has very good. All of her tactics are very good. Lakshmi has a. Tawu has amazing tactics. You get all 4 of his tactic. Tawu and Legong all day. See smoke? You know, see me no more. Hiya. Could see Nelson doing that. Hiya. Tawu. And you would still get 3 no's for playing Tawu. And unfortunately, you can't recycle Tawu's ability to steal another person's card. You can do it once for your third no. You wait for somebody to know, then you use it to get their no, and now you have 3 no's. I don't know. Yeah, it. I think it might be safer to plan for a Sunday game, but I do want to try to play tomorrow too, if possible. I'm really excited for it. It sounds really cool. I don't know. I do like the objective deck. I do like that quite a bit. Helps to make the game a little bit faster, and also I like objective decks because of Batman. Right? Batman has that's a great mechanic. You guys can feel free to disagree with me, but I liked it because it made the game more dynamic. It made it so you're faster. Maybe CQ. Okay, I'll let you know. Tomorrow, I'm gonna probably either clean the house or I may take my kids to the zoo in the morning. So we're talking afternoon tomorrow. But also probably likely Sunday's probably a little bit more likely. I don't know. Maybe both. Who knows? Who knows? Maybe I get both because my wife has the whole week off of work. So maybe I can, maybe I can parlay that. into a thing. So, yes. What's cool now we're going to be talking about best two-man teams, right? Gata Dart, maybe. I like any Dart. Prism Dart, Gata Dart, Valkyrie Dart. All great teams. But Gata Dart? That sounds kind of fun. I don't know if you can kill anything with Gata Dart, but you can mess people up pretty bad with those two. I don't know, man. I'm excited to try this. It sounds cool. You know, maybe it's a little bit of a gimmick, but it's multiplayer. It's 4-player multiplayer. What's not to like? I think it turns Aristeia more into a board game, which I think is kind of cool. I mean, Aristeia is a board game, but now you're talking about this 4-player interaction, which is, you know, the board game crowd really likes. And that's exciting. I don't know. Maybe I've been trying to get Bing forever to try. He won't try. You know, maybe we can drag Matt out. Maybe Matt will come join us. I don't know. We'll see. But yeah, if it's us three and Matt, that would work. Or, you know, maybe Chris. If we can find Chris, he can come join us. But the other thing I'll point out about primetime is you guys don't need primetime anymore, right? Only like 1 in 4 of us need to actually own the primetime rules. The rest of us are totally fine without primetime. So, anyways, I think we're gonna call it, guys. It's 10:30. I'm gonna call it here. Hit the hay. Maybe do some cleaning tomorrow. Try to get some stuff done, and then I'll let you guys know, you know, towards the middle of the day or whatever. So, yeah, Sean's working. Sean works. He works weekends, and it's holiday season, so it's gonna be tough. But anyways, yeah, we'll try to find a fourth. It would be fun to play. I would rather play it all, you know, with 4 players than 3. No offense to you and Jason Nelson, but I agree. I would prefer to play it 4 players and see how that goes. Hey, what's up, David Moffat Shoryuk? And he showed up, and we got to head out. So, good night, David Moffat. Have a good night, everybody.